Today, I'll examine the relationship between business and politics and ask a central question. Should corporations enter the political arena? We'll explore the forces that drive organizations to participate, the arguments supporting and opposing that involvement, and the ethical tensions it creates. We'll also consider why these issues matter beyond government or public debate, because political engagement can shape an organization's reputation, responsibilities, and relationship with its stakeholders. The goal is to understand the business environment more clearly, not to assume there is one simple answer. Government decisions are not background conditions for business. They actively shape the environment in which companies compete. Taxes affect costs. Labor laws influence how organizations operate. Environmental regulations set requirements, and trade policy can change access to markets. The key question, then, is not whether politics affects business. It clearly does. The more strategic question is whether businesses should help shape political decisions in return. Every major regulatory shift begins with a political choice, so understanding this relationship is foundational to strategic business thinking. Businesses participate in politics through several distinct channels. Campaign contributions support candidates or parties directly, often through PACs and super PACs, with the Citizens United ruling shaping this landscape. Lobbying takes a more targeted approach, using professional advocates to influence legislation, regulation, and policy at every level of government. Trade associations, such as the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, pool resources so industries can speak with a unified voice. Finally, public advocacy shapes opinion through advertising, social media, and corporate statements on policy issues. This slide presents the case for political participation by corporations. Proponents view corporate political engagement as more than an optional activity or a way to advance narrow business interests. They argue that companies are legitimate participants in public life and can contribute to important civic discussions. From this perspective, engaging with politics reflects both strategic responsibility and civic responsibility. It allows corporations to consider how public decisions affect their operations, their stakeholders, and the broader environment in which they operate. The central idea is that participation can serve both business and society. This slide presents 4 arguments for why businesses should engage in public policy. First, Citizens United v. FEC affirmed that corporations have First Amendment protections, including political speech. Second, engagement helps level the playing field, since unions and other interest groups already participate actively. Third, businesses bring valuable industry expertise that can support smarter, more practical legislation. And finally, policy engagement can help protect long-term value by supporting stable taxes, favorable regulations, and reliable trade agreements. The central idea is that informed participation represents stakeholders and supports operational continuity. This slide presents the central criticism of corporate involvement in politics. Critics argue that when companies contribute significant financial resources, political decisions may become more responsive to corporate interests than to the broader public. That creates concern about democratic accountability. Citizens may find it harder to see who is influencing decisions or to hold decision-makers responsible. Over time, this perceived imbalance can weaken public trust in political institutions. The lasting consequence is a democracy in which people feel their voices carry less weight than corporate money. This slide presents the main arguments against corporate political spending. First, there is a concern about undue influence and corruption risk. Large corporations may overwhelm ordinary citizens, making democracy feel less like one person, one vote, and more like $1, one vote. Second, corporate spending may not reflect the views of employees, customers, or shareholders, potentially hurting morale and loyalty. Finally, political activity can create reputational risk. In a polarized environment, businesses may face boycotts from customers on either side of the political spectrum. This slide presents the central dilemma. Corporations are expected to create value for their stakeholders, but political spending without meaningful limits can weaken the democratic systems that markets rely on. The real tension is profit versus democracy. Milton Friedman argued that business should focus primarily or even exclusively on profit. Stakeholder theorists take a broader view, emphasizing a corporation's social contract with society. Neither position is automatically correct. The appropriate boundary depends on the context, the industry, and the values guiding the business. This slide brings a discussion into the real world, where corporate political engagement has very practical consequences. In pharma and healthcare, the industry spends more on lobbying than any other sector. Critics connect that influence to high U.S. drug prices, while the industry argues it helps preserve incentives for innovation. Big tech shows another pattern. Google, Meta, and Amazon initially stayed out of Washington, then built major lobbying operations as antitrust scrutiny intensified. Finally, CEOs such as Tim Cook and Howard Schultz have taken public positions on social issues, blurring business leadership with political advocacy. When businesses consider political engagement, the first step is choosing the right strategy. Engage directly, build a coalition, or abstain. From there, I weigh the potential reputational and legal risks and ask whether the issue aligns with stakeholder values. Finally, I assess the practical impact on operations. Not all political engagement is equal. The goal is not to participate in every debate, but to apply a disciplined framework that connects policy relevance, stakeholder alignment, and the organization's tolerance for risk before committing time or resources. The core message is that political engagement is inevitable, so businesses need a deliberate strategy. Both sides of the debate have merit, making constitutional rights, democratic responsibility, and stakeholder values essential considerations. Transparency builds trust, while principled, consistent engagement is stronger than opportunistic reaction.